Good morning. Good Saturday morning. I got to get all the practice I can get with this live streaming. It is complex, it is difficult, it is all those things all wrapped into one. But not a real long show or broadcast today, but I did want to, as we've seen this additional plane crash in Philadelphia, it just seems like the world is ending, but I think there might be a slightly different, I think it's a lot simpler than it sounds. When I first saw the midair collision over the Potomac on approach to Reagan, I had an inkling of what might have taken place. First, I didn't think that airplanes or even helicopters should be crossing right there, but I guess they do on a pretty regular basis. And if you're a pilot, you know that all midfield or all crossings of Class B airspace that I've ever done, and the majority of the ones that I've done have been at SeaTac, where you cross right in the middle of the field, where the planes are at their lowest, and I'll explain a little bit of that. But I'm going to go through just what I think happened in this midair, to just, do my part, help shed some light, and see if we can explain it. So I put together a little video using Flight Sim, and I hope it explains things. Let's start that video. Passenger. Okay, so there's Reagan. So, okay. We're creeping down to 400 feet. According to the altimeter, I don't know if it's like on the correct altimeter setting. It's on standard setting. So we're basically flying. In order for your altimeter to read correctly, we're basically flying in. I didn't use a helicopter. I'm using a Cessna 150 as the demonstration aircraft. The helicopter in Flight Sim is just too hard to keep level and too hard to give the example. But I'm going to attempt to fly this plane on the exact route that, well, not the exact route, a similar route to what the helicopter was flying. It was transitioning airspace. You can see, my cursor up there kind of pointing over where Reagan is, that big open spot of land, kind of just to the right of where the mouse cursor is now on the screen. And I believe the Black Hawk helicopter had permission to transition the airspace. I'm not confirmed on what altitude they had permission to transition at, but altitude is key here. Now, the controllers also, I want to just say this real quick. The controllers also had radio communications with the Black Hawk. Now, that's a huge point when you're talking about airspace and flying around other aircraft, especially Class B airspace, like most international airports are, is you have to have radio communication. They did. They had radio communication with them. They pointed out traffic to them, which that recognition of seeing the traffic is the big question mark here. I've heard a few people say, and I think this is correct, I don't think they saw the correct airplane. They looked out, you're in a high traffic, high stress situation. They looked out left, okay, traffic in sight, but it wasn't the plane that they wanted them to look out for. Whoops. It looks to me like they had to have been in the wrong place if they were cleared at 400 feet right there because it looks like 400 feet was right on the glide slope. And the glide slope is the technology that the jets use to take the correct landing path down. Okay, the glide slope, there's equipment on board all commercial airliners. Now, the approach here is a little bit different than most approaches because it's this follow the river. If you've ever landed at Reagan, it's not just like a, slowly descend straight ahead and land. It's a follow the river, and then you kind of turn in and land. It's a bit aggressive if if you're not used to it. But the glide slope is the equipment that allows the plane to basically fly a predetermined descending track all the way down to the runway. Localizer is left and right. Glide slope is up and down. Whether it's no condition, zero visibility or some visibility, and then they make a decision when they reach a certain height as to whether or not they can see the runway. Well, it was clear, it was nighttime, but I just want to show you something here as we cross over the end of the field. So we're at 400 feet. The landing American Airlines jet was kind of right here on this path right here. I think they were landing on not this runway, but the one going this way. They were landing from this direction over here. And this helicopter was just scooting right through here at 400 feet is the altitude, which doesn't make sense because it looks like 400 feet would put you right in the path of any landing traffic. Now, I did hear earlier this morning that there's word going around that it should have been 100 feet or 200 feet. So we don't know that yet, but just keep that in mind. 1,000 feet, 100 feet maybe, I don't know, but we're going with that they had clearance to cross here. Now, the problem is when you're flying at night, these guys are probably wearing night vision. If you make one little mistake, and it's this one, see my altimeter, how it says I'm at 400 feet? Well, watch what happens when I turn the pressure gauge on the altimeter. See what happens? If that is on the wrong pressure, I can't tell you how many times I have gone and pre-flighted an aircraft, gotten ATIS, right up here at Tacoma Narrows, gotten ATIS, set my altimeter, gone flying, flown through airspace without updating my altimeter setting because the barometric pressure changes as you travel around. As your weather changes, the barometric pressure is going to change. So therefore, you have to change your altimeter setting, or else you're not reading the exact altitude. Now, I think a lot of people think that modern aircraft and high-tech aircraft, even airliners, use radar altimeters where it gives you the exact altitude, kind of like a boat's depth sounder. That's not the case. Altimeters use barometric pressure, and there's a constant rate as you go up and down where the barometric pressure would increase or decrease. But if it's not set on the exact sea level barometric pressure, as you can see in the video, you can be off as much as 300 feet, 400 feet, 500 feet or more. So really, really unfortunate. If you didn't set your altimeter to the pressure, the barometric pressure for the area, I think that showed that they're on final, they're on short final. Anyway, that's that's that. It's really unfortunate. A lot of people died. I'll show you something else here that I think is interesting. And again, it is not, this is what's called an approach plate. And the approach plate is how pilots set up. You see down here, this is the glide slope. Okay. This is what gives pilots and aircraft all the information they need to determine, okay, can I land? This is used for instrument flying, typically when the weather is like no visibility. Well, we had visibility, but these rules are still followed. And you'll also see that this approach, you know, from this fix to this fix, and then a right turn, and then kind of a left turn, it's typically you're going to be flying in just straight ahead. You know, you're going to line up 5-10 miles out, right on the localizer. You're going to start descending, and you're going to land. But if you land at DC, it is squirrely. You know, you pass the first time I landed there, I remember passing, oh, like, whoa, there's the Pentagon. And then you turn and you land and you're on the ground. And it's a little bit nuts. There's Class B airspace. Whoops, that's not the right one. Let's see if that works. Well, I guess that'll work. Class B airspace is kind of an upside down birthday cake. As you can see, you know, in this illustration, as planes descend, they stay in the airspace. So the airspace is not Class B up to, but that's kind of the birthday cake that you got to stay out of. It's really sad that this is, and then last night, did anybody see? I mean, I can't even believe, if you didn't see what happened last night, it's it's pretty crazy.
This is the moment a small medical jet crashed into.
That was last night. Now, when I first saw this video, that didn't look like an airplane. That looked like a missile. I mean, that thing came down fast. So supposedly, what it is it was a Lear 35, I believe. Lear 35. Medevac flight. Air ambulance. Ex-Top Gun pilot. I mean, it's the crazy, it's the little things. Setting the altimeter. Paying attention, you know, doing everything in order. The consequences of being quick, the consequences of being confident. Confidence can kill, because confidence kind of breeds doing things quickly. I've done this before. Come on, we got to get out of here. You know, we got to get home. We're in a hurry. This is a video I'm going to show you here now of probably one of the most decorated pilots in naval history, flew F-14s for years, literally one of the greatest people on earth. Well, 3 years ago, he was flying out of an airport in Idaho. Went and pre-flighted his plane, I guess, got on his plane, fired it up, went to the runway. And he took off and this happened.
20 uniforms clear for takeoff at Delta 12. Thanks.
Mark 28 uniform, when able, request you change to frequency 119.4.
So he's cleared to take off, just like he's done a million other times. About to head home, see his wife. You know what that was? He literally forgot to take his control locks off. So when you park an airplane and tie it down, especially overnight, you want to put a control lock in. In a Cessna, it's just a pin. You know, you've got the yoke that goes up, you know, you pull it out, you push it in, turn right, turn left. It just has a pin that sticks in that locks the controls from blowing around in the wind. You don't want the wind to kick up and just whack your airplane controls around. This particular plane that he was flying here, this Marchetti, had a control lock that kind of went up and underneath. So you could still, you know, it still feels like, you know, you have control. You can turn it left and right, but your horizontal control, your up-down control is locked. And he didn't take that off. So when he took off, just very simply, when he took off, he still got in the air, because an airplane will fly as you give it speed. You know, your trim tab on the back will allow you to fly. But if you can't control your horizontal pitch, it just pulled straight up and stalled, and there was nothing he could do about it. Maybe he thought about it in the last like 50 milliseconds that he was alive, but by then it's too late. And the reason I show you this is because the first crash, I'm going to make the prediction that it ends up being an improperly set altimeter, where they thought they were at a specific altitude and they weren't. Coupled with, they said they had the correct airplane in sight, but they didn't. They had a different airplane in sight, so it was just the Swiss cheese just lined up, and boom, over. The Learjet, which we haven't heard anything of yet, but I'm going to bet that the Learjet is a control surface. It's obviously a control surface, a total loss of control. Now, it sounded also to me like and I've spent a lot of time at airports. I worked at the Santa Monica airport. I worked at the Tacoma Narrows airport for years. I've refueled all different kinds of jet. I mean, every kind of private jet there is. I haven't refueled airlines, but you know, a lot of the same stuff applies. And I'm just going to bet that it ends up being a control surface function problem, either from control lock or a complete and utter just decoupling of a linkage rod or something like that. The only thing that's not really explainable is it sounded like the engines were at full power, like literally at full power straight down. Now, obviously, if you're going to lose control, now, in my opinion, whenever I'm flying and something happens or you're potentially entering into what could be an emergency, especially if the plane becomes uncontrollable, just like a car, you let off the gas, you know, you pull back the throttles, like, whoa, something's wrong here. Because for a plane to be just taking off, and this Learjet that they were in, that particular jet is the hot rod of, I mean, it's 40 plus years old, but a lot of people compare that particular Learjet and some of the other Lears to fighter jets. I mean, they are fast. They are very light in comparison to a lot of other jets. So being at full throttle, kind of nose down, doesn't happen. It's very, very strange. So I'm going to make the prediction that that one was a control lock. And let's just hope that it wasn't anything nefarious. I don't think it could be, but there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there, and let's just not. Conspiracy theories are dumb. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow on Monday.
Who the hell am I? Well, let's just say I'm your typical American kid. If typical means growing up insecure, stuttering through sentences, dodging a critical mom, and watching dad hide in the shadows. I played football, not because I was great, not because I had confidence, but because that's what mom and dad said you had to do. Never graduated high school, never went to college. Learned to use my words to navigate life, just like Grandpa said. Make friends, make money. I experimented, took things apart, learned everything I could without spending time in a classroom. I've sold wine to grocery stores, driven heavy equipment, caddied on the PGA Tour, was in a band, even went to LA in my early 20s to give acting a shot. Dabbled in aviation, got a pilot's license, worked in sales most of my life, got recruited to Wall Street, and one day I even rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. It's been a crazy ride. So if you're here for some polished, prepackaged show that strives for perfection, then this isn't your show. We strive for raw, unapologetically human, off the cuff, spontaneous, and real. If that sounds like you, then you're in the right place. All we gotta do is keep things from blowing up. Welcome to the Ackerman Alliance Daily Broadcast. Let's get to it.
Oh yeah, if I didn't already say, please like, subscribe, follow, comment, I know it's hard. I know it's hard. But I got to get a following. I got to start getting this thing ramped up because we have a lot of very important stuff to talk about this month. I think you're going to want to be there for those conversations. So let's get this thing rolling.